Aurora slammed the door of her beat-up Jeep Wrangler, the echo cutting through the crisp Seattle morning like a knife. "I can't do this anymore. Hazel," she yelled, her voice cracking under the weight of years unspoken. Tears stung her eyes as she turned away, the damp Pacific Northwest air clinging to her skin like regret. That was the hook, the moment everything shattered. Right there in the driveway of Hazel's cozy craftsman bungalow, with the neighbor's sprinklers hissing in the background and the faint smell of fresh coffee wafting from inside. Hazel stood frozen on the porch, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. At 30, she was the steady one, the high school English teacher who graded papers late into the night and dreamed of stability. Aurora, 2 years younger, was the wildfire, a freelance photographer chasing sunsets and stories across the American West, her camera always slung over her shoulder like a shield. They'd met 5 years ago at a local art gallery opening, bonding over cheap wine and shared laughs about growing up in rainy Washington state. Friends. That's what they called it. Best friends. But deep down, in the quiet spaces between texts and late-night calls, it was more. So much more. The mouth won? Neither could admit it, terrified that crossing that invisible line would burn their world to ashes. Flashback to last night. The two of them curled up on Hazel's worn leather couch, binge-watching some Netflix drama about forbidden love. Ironic, wasn't it? The room smelled of popcorn and Hazel's lavender candle, the kind she bought from the farmer's market every Saturday. Aurora's head rested on Hazel's shoulder, their fingers brushing accidentally, then lingering. A sigh escaped Aurora's lips, soft and heavy. "You ever feel like life's just waiting for you to make a move?" she whispered, her voice barely above the hum of the TV. Hazel's breath hitched. She turned, their faces inches apart, the glow from the screen casting shadows that danced like unspoken secrets. "All the time," she replied, her hazel eyes locking onto Aurora's deep brown ones. "But then, nothing." Hazel pulled back, heart racing, and changed the subject to tomorrow's lesson plans. Aurora laughed it off, but inside, it twisted like a knot she couldn't untie. That was their dance, close, but never close enough. Mornings like this one started with promise, Aurora crashing at Hazel's after a late shoot, waking to the sound of birds chirping outside the window and the sizzle of eggs in the kitchen. Hazel would hum an old Fleetwood Mac tune, her hair tied back in a messy bun, apron dusted with flour. "Coffee's ready," she'd say, sliding a mug across the counter, their hands touching just a second too long. Aurora would feel that spark, electric and warm, spreading through her like sunlight breaking through Seattle's eternal clouds. But she'd smile and say, "Thanks, buddy," the word tasting like ash. Work pulled them in different directions. Hazel at Lincoln High, surrounded by teenagers scribbling essays on Shakespeare, her classroom echoing with laughter and the scratch of pencils. She'd steal moments to text Aurora, "Miss our coffee runs. You free this weekend?" Aurora, out in the field, snapping photos of misty Olympic National Park trails or urban grit in downtown Seattle, would reply with a heart emoji, her camera capturing everything but her own emotions. "Always for you," she'd type, then delete and rephrase to something safer. The tension built like a storm rolling in from the Puget Sound. Friends noticed. At a backyard barbecue last summer, under string lights and the crackle of a fire pit, their mutual pal Jake pulled Aurora aside. "You two are like a rom-com waiting to happen. What's the holdup?" Aurora shrugged, the smoky air filling her lungs as she watched Hazel laugh across the yard, her silhouette framed by the flickering flames. "We're just friends. Man. Don't want to mess it up." But that night, as they drove home in Aurora's Jeep, the radio playing soft indie folk, Hazel reached over and squeezed her knee. "You're my person? You know that?" The words hung there, heavy with meaning, but neither pushed further. Then came the fight that morning. It started small, Aurora mentioning a job offer in LA, a chance to chase bigger dreams under California sun. "It's just a gig," she said over breakfast, but her voice wavered. Hazel's fork clattered against the plate. "Just a gig? Or are you running away again?" The accusation stung, echoing the pain of Aurora's restless soul clashing with Hazel's rooted one. Words flew like arrows, accusations of fear, of hiding behind friendship. Aurora stormed out, slamming that door, the sound reverberating in her ears like a finality. She drove aimlessly, the Space Needle blurring in her rearview as rain began to patter on the windshield, typical Seattle, mirroring her tears. Pulling over at a viewpoint overlooking Elliott Bay, She gripped the steering wheel. The salty sea breeze whipping through the open window. Why can't I just say it, she muttered. The words lost to the wind. Memories flooded, their first hike in the Cascades. Slipping on mud and laughing until their sides hurt, late-night confessions over whiskey about past heartbreaks. Both from men who never understood them, the way Hazel's touch lingered. Soft and intentional. Making Aurora's skin tingle. Back at the house. Hazel paced the living room. The floorboards creaking under her feet. She picked up her phone. Thumb hovering over Aurora's name. Come back, she typed. Then deleted. The silence was deafening. Broken only by the tick of the wall clock. She'd always been the cautious one. Shaped by a conservative upbringing in a small town outside Tacoma. Where feelings like these were whispered. Not shouted. But loving Aurora? It felt as natural as breathing, her laugh like music. Her passion igniting something deep within. Hours later. As the sun dipped low, casting golden hues over the city, Aurora returned. She knocked softly. Hard in her throat. Hazel opened the door. Eyes red-rimmed. No words at first, just a hug. Fierce and desperate. The scent of Aurora's shampoo mixing with Hazel's tears. I'm sorry, Aurora whispered into her hair. I don't want to run. I want you. Hazel pulled back. Cupping Aurora's face. I've wanted to cross that line for so long. But I was scared it'd change everything. It will, Aurora said. Her voice steady now. For the better. They kissed then. Tentative at first. Then deepening with the release of pent-up longing. It tasted like freedom. Like home. In that moment, under the fading light, they stepped over the threshold, not just of the door, but of their fears. Life didn't magically fix itself. Aurora took the LA gig but promised weekends back in Seattle. Hazel started exploring her own dreams. Maybe writing that novel she'd shelved. They navigated the newness together, awkward family dinners. Stolen glances in public. The thrill of holding hands at a pride parade in Capitol Hill. It wasn't perfect, arguments still flared. Doubts crept in, but they talked now. Really talked. Bridging the gaps with honesty. In the end, they learned that closeness wasn't about perfection. It was about the courage to leap. Hand in hand. Into the unknown. And as they sat on that same porch one evening, watching the stars emerge over the sound, Aurora leaned into Hazel. We did it, she murmured. Hazel smiled. Squeezing her hand. Yeah. We crossed the line. Word count, 1028.